Protesting members of the Umkhonto weSizwe military veterans have responded to the Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula calling the leaders of the structure thugs. The veterans have been marching to Gauteng Premier David Makhura's office. Now, for more on the story, I'm joined by the MKMVA President, Mr. Kebby Maphatsoe. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, sir. What is your reaction to the tweets that have been coming up from Minister Mbalula?
Look, the tweets that are coming from Mbalula, I don't think we should take them serious, because what is very serious is that what Mbalula has done to deny our poor people the transport that they use every day, every night to go back to work and come back to work as cheap. It was very cheap. What has happened is that Mbalula neglected, or it is not negligence, it is because of his arrogancy. That is why he's tweeting too much. He's a professor of tweeting. But when it comes to work, of protecting the infrastructure of our country that was supposed to be ferrying our people from home to work, he failed to do that. He removed the security without any contingency plans in place in order to protect the infrastructure. Look what is happening now in the townships. Our people are suffering a lot and they are complaining to us. A high leader like him as an NEC member, not to be able to be responsible and to respond like this, it shows immaturity. It shows that he is just a role model of people who are tweeting. We are serious about the sabotage of the infrastructure of our country. He does not take it serious. That is why I was talking about this thing.
What it looks like now, Mr. Maphatsoe, is the fact that there's a lot of he said, she said, a lot of accusations that are being thrown around. You yourself on your side making some of those. But let's look at one of the tweets that Fikile Mbalula tweeted here. And this one is in connection with Carl Niehaus. Okay, if we can, we'll get to the Carl Niehaus one. But perhaps let's start with this one now, saying that you ran away from the camps and that's why you have one hand, that you lost your hand from cowardice and not in the fight against apartheid. So that's just one of the tweets. Let's bring up another one here. He says they ran amok organizing marches, threatening the rule of law, suspected criminals Kebby and Carl Niehaus. Here's another tweet that comes from the Minister of Transport. He says, I am not afraid of them. Jacob Zuma, Carl Niehaus, Kebby Maphatsoe, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, and Ace Magashule. That you must. And then a sign there. So a lot of name throwing that is happening here. And clearly a division within the African National Congress. You can hear what Mbalula is saying there. You are being named. Carl Niehaus is being named. Former President Jacob Zuma is being named. Busisiwe Mkhwebane is being named. And that looks like one faction against his particular faction. Just your comments on those accusations, your cowardice, as he calls it.
I have been there in newsroom many a times, and I'm prepared. If you can come and call me again on how I lost my arm, I'm prepared to come back there. But it shows you how stupid is Mbalula and how factional he is. We have never spoken about...
Is this issue, Mr. Maphatsoe, of factionalism not just from the Mbalula side? Is this issue of factionalism not being demonstrated on both sides, including your own?
Look, we are talking about the infrastructure that has been sabotaged. And we're talking about a leader who is responsible for making sure that it is not destroy the infrastructure. Because of his negligence, and because of his poor analysis, including his security advisor. That is what we're talking about. We're not talking about factions here. We're talking about protecting the infrastructure of our country that the poor people are using every day. But he is professionalizing his things of tweeting and wanting to bring factionalism here. We are clear as MKMVA that the conference has passed. We are not belonging to any faction. We are members of the ANC. We are a military veterans association that is representing the interest of the ex-combatants, but we cannot also ignore when something goes wrong by one leader of the ANC deployed in government, when he does things wrong, that affects our people, our parents, our sisters, including the students. We can't keep quiet.
So in your view, do you feel and do you think that Mr. Mbalula is deflecting away from himself?
Yes, truly, it's deflecting. That is why he is tweeting something that are irrelevant. And everybody can see to it that Mbalula is not responding to what we are saying, that he has been negligent. The country now is going to pay plus minus 5 billion in order to make sure that the rail infrastructure is back to standard. It is because of his negligence by removing the security without putting contingency plans. That's our duty as former soldiers of Umkhonto we Sizwe, to make sure that we're the eyes and ears of our country and our government. We support the police, we support the soldiers, we support everything that is belonging to the government. So Mbalula is deflecting by bringing President Jacob Zuma, Ace Makhashula, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, who have got nothing to do with those issues. We are marching about the plight of our ex-combatants, the plight of the drivers who are saying foreigners are taking most of their jobs. We are talking about people who are corrupt.
Mr. Maphatsoe,
So
let me ask you this, Mr. Maphatsoe. Another allegation, let me just read this tweet here. Mr. Mbalula says PRASA was your milking cow and that he has closed the taps. That is the sin that he has committed. And he has closed the taps that you used to wish with fake security companies, that you used to milk rather with fake security companies. Is this true, the allegation that he is making against you, and the reason why you are now targeting him, because he's closed your cash cow?
Mbalula is talking nonsense. There's nothing that he can prove to that extent. What we have been saying is that it's the resolutions of the conference that companies of ex-combatants of Umkhonto we Sizwe must be employed because they are going to play a patriotic role in protecting the infrastructure of our country. It is not me, it is not my company, it's military veterans. That shows how ignorant he is about the resolutions of the conference, Mbalula. He's deviating from the wrong decisions that he did. So as MKMVA, we are going to fight against corruption, and anyone who's found to be corrupt must be charged. The law enforcement agencies must play their role and arrest those ones. Now Mbalula is deviating because his tweeting is good in tweeting. We are not in competition about competition of tweeting. The fact of the matter is that Mbalula neglected the infrastructure of our country, and as a result, our people are suffering. The economy of our country can't work.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Maphatsoe. Let me ask you this. I mean, there may very well be merits on both sides of the story, your accusations as well as the ones that he is putting before you. I'd like you to answer to this one as well. You mentioned the MKVA, and this is what he says. He says they organize tired self-defense units, and they call themselves MK, with old Gupta-sponsored camouflage uniform that's even worn out. Now, is the MKMVA Gupta puppet? Are you sponsored by the Guptas as he alleges?
That is why I'm saying Mbalula maybe is one of the factory fault that joined the ANC by mistake. You can't insult people who laid their lives down. Some of them died. Some of them, their parents are still looking for them, and you say they are thugs, they are criminals, they are tired. Indeed, they have to tired because they've been fighting for a long time while he was still enjoying himself. Those people, they don't have anything to put on the table, but he can go out and drink wine and whiskeys with his girlfriend or whoever. But he can't be say our people are thugs, and especially the self-defense units. It's an insult. In fact, Mbalula is creating more animosity. against him amongst the cadres of Umkhonto by insulting them, as if the role that they played in defending our people when they were killed by the apartheid regime, that it was useless. It's a very insult coming from a person who called himself a leader of the ANC. It's an insult, and we take exception of what Comrade Mbalula is saying, but anyway, he is stupid, he is useless. He left the infrastructure destroyed. He has given it to Zinyoga. He can't fix it. He wants now to tweet as if there's something good that he's doing. There's nothing good that he's doing.
Before I let you go, why are you taking your march to the provincial office? Why to Makura, and why are you not taking this to the national minister?
This is a provincial march that is happening now. That is Gauteng. You saw it happen in KZN last. Now it is Gauteng. It's going to roll out in all the provinces until it becomes a national march where all the provinces will be united. Here we're talking about comrades that are here in Gauteng. But Gauteng is also an economic hub of South Africa and Africa. We can't keep quiet when things goes wrong. As I conclude, it is like yesterday that we spoke about corruption, that we welcome that the Premier of Gauteng removed the MSc of Health, Comrade Masuku, but he is supposed to replace him immediately because that department is very important. You can't say you will wait for the report and put somebody acting. That department is very important, especially in the height of this coronavirus. You need a premier who is decisive, who must act against corruption and implement the resolutions of the conference.
Well, thank you so much for your time as well as your responses this afternoon. That's Kebby Maphatsoe, MKMVA president, there on the Twitter war that's currently taking place between himself, actually the whole RET, and the Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula. Allegations flying from the north to the south, the east and the west. Things looking like they are falling apart there within the African National Congress. But we'll continue to see how the developments unfold in the wake of this developing story.